starts with a complaint that the world is changing too fast. Someone else is going to disrupt us, and there's so much data everywhere we can't use it properly. So if you look at these issues, I think what every leader or innovation team needs to have is quite small egos, because otherwise someone else will come and do a better product, and then you will be out of business immediately. So you can't fall in love too much in your own ways of doing things, whether it's a process team or a product that you have. That's for every single team. But I think then we have two different tracks that you need to choose depending where you are. One is, if the world is changing so fast that your industry won't exist anymore, then you need to have visionary people in your team that understand that the world is going to look so different in 2 years, so we should change to some other industry or whatever it is. But then if the industry is not going to change so much, then you just need to utilize all the data that you have, which is more about sense making. So you need to have people who can sort of understand what stakeholders would benefit from this data, how it can be actually used to serve them, not just what we can do. Also in my organization, we had a lot of workshops where we came up with a lot of ideas what we can do with the data. However, it doesn't really help if we are using it for something if no one else likes it or can use it. So that's sort of the sense-making part. So visionary sense-making and then small egos.
I will just say something very controversial. I really hate innovation labs. So you have all these big corporates and they have an innovation lab, and then I won't say there was a neighbor in my previous GovTech office where they had an innovation lab and they had free lunch, so all my engineers went down to have lunch. And we asked the people there, they had these tags, and I'm an innovator. And so one of my engineers says, "What do you do?" I said, "Oh, I help XXX company innovate and advance." Then it's like, what do you actually do on a day-to-day basis? And all he could do is repeat that slogan. And you go there and nobody's building anything, no one's writing any code. It's just a lab which becomes almost a event location.
It's a fancy office.
Right. And don't get me wrong. Now, the first thing you need is you need to give your team space. Right? If they're overloaded with day-to-day work, firefighting, there's no resource, no space to do innovation. But I also believe that innovation team needs to, one, have people who understand the business very deeply, not some guy parachuted in who's cool and can, wear jeans and t-shirts to work. Somebody, who understands the business really well, but has enough latitude and has enough mandate from the very top to try things in a different way. What happened in GovTech was that they set up a team called Hive where we were allowed to be more so-called innovative. And as we did a lot of that, we realized that we needed to go to the back to the traditional parts of the organization. And you realize that a lot of people in the traditional parts of the organization are also incredibly innovative. It's just that they were overwhelmed with too much work and they were never given the license to try and potentially fail. But when you give them that license, you will find they were just as innovative as the guys in jeans and t-shirt. So
that comes to the issue of balancing your work, right? Because if you've got to still function in your role and yet are forced to be innovative, how do you, what's the best way around that? I mean, are there methods that you've applied perhaps with GovTech or any of you in your various organizations?
I think, which is why I think the better, innovations like this playground where people, you put a playground and sandbox and people go and try. I think a far better way is to light a match and burning platform, right? Something is burning down and then you have to innovate to find a way to solve it. So I think a lot of it is making sure people have a focus. Like, you don't know the answer, but this is a really important and big problem to solve.
So living dangerously, is it?
Yeah, I guess it depends what kind of innovation we're looking for. So there's not just one way of doing it. So it can be incremental innovation where we add a product feature, or even better if we can remove a product feature. But it can also be process innovation, such as how to improve the billing based on the data or customer feedback. Or then it can be also radical innovation where visionary people meet and come up with something new. But the innovation doesn't really need to happen in a lab. I was invited once to an innovation lab. I think that will be the last time, because I was like a guest of honor, and they asked me how do I think about the lab. I said, if you need to have an innovation lab, why don't you just have an innovation square? You just go there and innovate, and then you leave. All done. Because seriously, it happens everywhere, and that's sort of the point. Is why do you usually go to when you go to work, you use the same route? It's because you have optimized, that's the best route for you. That's an innovation. You don't go to different route every day. If you find a better one, then you will change it. So same thing, it happens in so many different forms that it's more about the culture that, hey, everyone is supposed to improve things. And that is called, if someone else is willing to pay for it, then it's called innovation.
Corporate management needs to understand that innovation costs money. The returns are never certain. So you need to give that latitude for them to play around, a defined budget for them to start to without a expectation of, no, this will give you X level returns. But at the same time, we also need to be need to look at it in a co-objective way. If it bombs, if it doesn't work out, be prepared to kill it. That is actually, this is corporate 101, right? No, unless you work for an organization with infinite resources, infinite time, no, which none of us do, then we need to know at what point you say, we tried, doesn't work out, kill it, call it a day. The second thing that I think Mikko pointed out is actually very, very important. That's more on a personal basis. You need to have a small ego. It doesn't mean everything that comes from your labs or your team is the best in the world. No, if someone else somewhere does a better job, be prepared to adopt, be prepared to copy, prepared to imitate and emulate. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, end of the day, and the biggest question again, probably because of where I come from, is the biggest question is how do you monetize? That is always a big, big question. If you can't answer the question, forget about your innovation projects, because this is nothing but a science experiment and a distraction.
What do you think of that? Feel free to copy, emulate, take, use, apply.
No, I mean, I think that's a good approach. I think it's a strong approach. One thing that we're doing in my firm is we are looking at running pilot programs, right? So, adopting a developer's attitude, right? We have something new. We start with a hypothesis. We allocate a certain budget and a certain time frame. And we say, okay, let's run this as a pilot program for a couple of months, see how it pans out. If it looks like it's working well, do it more, do it better, right? Iterate and improve. If it's not working well, jettison it and go on to the next one, right? So you're constantly going through this iterative testing approach. I think you can apply this approach to lots of different industries.
How do your clients feel about that? If somebody takes something that they've developed and copy it and use it?
That's a good question. And this is also kind of the reason why sometimes negotiations go on really long. So it depends on who we're acting for. If we're acting for the developer, then of course they want to preserve ownership and control and access to whatever it is that they're developing. And if we're acting for their clients, very often they provide what we call background IP, so proprietary information that they share with the developer. And they will want some kind of control over the end product to ensure that the developer doesn't then go on and sell that to a competitor, right? So this is always the basis for a very lengthy and complex negotiation process.